Barkov beats Thompson. Disrespectful.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Adam Gold. This is the Canes Corner podcast. We're brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it is for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on Hamlin Road in Durham. No place like it. Sammy Hanna and his crew do a great job. Appreciate your patience. Number of things conspired yesterday and took us really off the schedule. But today, after an exhausting day of watching college football, I don't think it was the greatest day in the history of the sport. Anyway, I thought let's get to this. Let's do it. Here's what we were going to do last night, and I don't know. We'll be here tomorrow as well. Tomorrow, I can give you a heads up. We will be previewing the first preseason game. By the time we get together tomorrow night, we should have the rosters. The Hurricanes, intended available lineup for the game on Monday against Tampa. I love the fact the first two preseason games are at home. We'll get I'm sure more so the second game, the Florida game, which is that community game coming up on Wednesday. I think that is more likely to feature a greater number of Hurricanes players, if you will. I think we'll see one representative line in the first game, but I think the first preseason, the second preseason game is more likely to look like most of the team. Although no Jacob Slavin, I'm going to guess. No Jalen Chatfield today at the third day of training camp. And as I said a couple of days ago, if we don't see Jacob Slavin until October 9th against the New Jersey Devils, I think we'll all be okay with it. Jacob Slavin is a must. Got to have him. And if he is not 100%, he ain't starting the season for me. I don't care about the first month of the season, let alone the first game of the season. So we want Jacob Slavin healthy. Jacob Slavin's got to be healthy in April, May, June, more than September, October, November. All right, so we're going to do, I think most people believe that it's the Hurricanes and Devils who are the two best teams in the Metropolitan Division. So this is going to be about who that third team might be. And I believe in my heart that we're going to get 5 playoff teams from the Atlantic Division. And only the top 3 finishers of the Metro are likely to make the playoffs. Although, who knows, maybe a 4th team, given if the bottom of the division is weak. But I don't think it's going to be. I just think the Atlantic has stronger teams. So, couple of just kind of things to remind you that the Hurricanes in the last 7 years, 3 times in the postseason, have won the Metro, meaning they won 2 rounds of playoffs because the way it's done now, you basically play within your division. Yes, there is a wild card, which could come from the other side, and it has in the past. But for the most part, the Hurricanes have 3 times in the playoffs won the Metro. They also are a 3-time division champion over the last several years, 7 seasons under Rod Brindamore. The first time they won the division was the crazy pandemic Central. Then they won the Metro back-to-back. And the last 2 years, the Metro champion has been, in 2024, the Rangers, who missed the playoffs last year. And in 2025, the Capitals, who might miss the playoffs this year. We'll get to that when we do predictions. The Hurricanes obviously have had a good run, and I believe they will continue to have a good run. As I said before last season when there was speculation, it's easily a playoff team for me. And the odds certainly say that. We'll get to that in just a second. But we have to figure out who that third team in the Metro is. I love the Devils team, most of it anyway. And I think that there's not a whole lot of difference between Carolina and New Jersey. There just isn't. So, Devils are good. Devils have speed and talent and goal scoring ability. And right now they have a bit of an advantage down the middle with Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier, as opposed to, well, I mean, if you're just using Carolina's best two centers, Sebastian Aho and Jordan Staal, because Staal is not an offensive performer, you give the edge to the Devils. Nico Hischier is, to me, is Alexander Barkov light. He's just, he's not as good as Barkov because nobody is, but he is arguably the next best two-way center. I shouldn't say the next best because guys like Matthews and Eichel are two-way, McDavid, two-way centers. But Nico Hischier is an outstanding 200-foot player. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give you odds. These are odds according to FanDuel this evening, I guess, is when I last looked at it. And these are odds to win the Metropolitan Division. Carolina is the pretty significant favorite, plus 120 to win the Metro. The Devils are the next choice at plus 290. The Rangers come in third at plus 350. Surprising that the Devils and Rangers are that close in terms of odds to win the division. After that, it's Washington, last year's champ, at plus 600. Then it's Columbus at plus 2,500. The Islanders at plus 3,000. Philadelphia at plus 4,000. The Penguins plus 10,000. They got Crosby and Malkin and Letang and Rust and Merkel. Like, it's not a terrible team. And they're not going to win the division. But, man, plus 10,000. Why are their odds so much worse than Philadelphia's? It's crazy. Anyway, maybe they just assume that the Penguins are going to get rid of Crosby or Malkin or whatever. So those are the odds to win the division. Here are the odds to make the playoffs. And I find these things fascinating. And yes, I understand that the Hurricanes are odds makers' darlings because of the analytics, because a lot of it is a formula. But to make the playoffs, the Hurricanes, the Edmonton Oilers, and Dallas Stars all have the best odds to make the playoffs at minus 900. That is incredible, isn't it? It really is incredible. And I didn't even look at, because it really doesn't matter right now, I didn't even look at the odds to win the Stanley Cup, but Carolina's got to be one of the top choices. The funny thing is that Florida's odds to make the playoffs are significantly below Carolina's. Like, minus 650 is still a strong favorite to make the playoffs, but there's a big difference, big gap between minus 650 and minus 900. And that's where Florida is at minus 650. I found that to be utterly fascinating. Now, quickly, the odds to make the playoffs, just looking at Metropolitan Division teams. Rangers minus 185, Washington minus 180, basically the same. Columbus is at plus 200. The Islanders are at plus 260. Philadelphia plus 320. Pittsburgh plus 750 to make the playoffs. It seems like crazy odds. All right. Now, what we'll do here is I will give you the reasons why I feel like it's going to go a certain way. And here's the way I look at it. And it's worth pointing out that anything can happen during the course of a season. Columbus, nobody thought Columbus would be good last year. They have good young players. And yeah, I'm sure there was a little bit of playing for a different, like a higher cause that kept them in it until ultimately they faded down the stretch, right? Washington did what Washington does. We really don't know what's going to happen. But a third team from the Metro is going to make the playoffs. And frankly, this third team that we conjure up could win the division, given, circumstances to the Devils or the Hurricanes. And it is also possible, albeit I think unlikely, that the Hurricanes and or Devils miss the playoffs. I don't anticipate that happening. So, in order, here are my picks and why. I think the most likely scenario for the third playoff team in the Metro is, unfortunately, the Rangers. 85 points a year ago, 39, 36, and 7. Chris Kreider's in Anaheim. Keandre Miller is with us. Vladislav Gavrikov comes in. He basically replaces Keandre Miller. I'd rather have Miller than Gavrikov, but Gavrikov's fine. I think the biggest change in the Rangers, and the most significant change, is their head coach, Mike Sullivan, is one of the best coaches in the sport. I believe he's going to coach the U.S. Olympic team, right? He's in for Peter Laviolette. And for my money, I just think he is a lot more, what you're going to get from his teams. So I don't think we'll see kind of all over the map like we've seen from Peter Laviolette. It's the most curious thing in the world to me that Peter Laviolette is such, nobody burns out. John Tortorella thinks that Peter Laviolette coach teams burn out quickly. It is crazy. But here's the best thing other than Mike Sullivan. You get a full season of JT Miller, who was, by the way, named the Rangers captain. My criticism of the Rangers is that it's really just a two-line team. I think once you get past the top two lines for the Rangers, I think their depth is just okay. But they do have Igor Shesterkin. I think the bottom six of the Rangers, in terms of their forward groups, very light. I think they're a little bit slightly overrated in terms of how good they are defensively, but they've got Igor Shesterkin. If the power play can get back to at least league average, and last year it was below league average, then the Rangers probably pick up an additional 10 points out of that. And I think they probably get the third spot. That's my pick to finish third in the Metropolitan Division, which means that if you want to avoid the Rangers, finish first. But it might not matter. I have no problem with Carolina taking on the Rangers in the playoffs. It'll be fun. My second choice, this might surprise you. My second choice is the Columbus Blue Jackets. Maybe this is kind of a sentimental pick because I like Don Waddell so much. But when you look at what the Blue Jackets have and the Marchenko and Voronkov and Fantilli, I just think that they have three lines that can really put the puck in the net. I think they've got a level of dynamic offensive player that go beyond what some of the other teams have, not necessarily the Rangers, because the Rangers are so good in the top six. My one fear about the Blue Jackets, is that their goaltending will not hold up. We know that Merzlikins is a wild card. When you get good Elvis, he's great. When you get anything else, he's terrible. Is Jet Graves going to be good enough to either be the guy? But you get Sean Monahan back healthy. You've got Zach Werenski, who's one of the best, all-around defensemen in the sport. And the additions of Charlie Coyle and Miles Wood will help. I think Charlie Coyle gives them a little bit of stability in the third-line center role. He can kill penalties. I think I like what Columbus did, even though they didn't do anything big, right? To me, I think what happened last year and fading down the stretch, I think they build on that. So that's my second choice. I don't know if they're going to finish fourth, but if it's not the Rangers, I think it'll be Columbus. And if it's not either of those two, my next choice, the Islanders. Brock Nelson's out. Jonathan Drouin and more importantly, Matthew Schaefer in. First overall pick. I think it's going to be good right out of the gate for the Islanders. Right out of the gate, I think he's going to be good. That's not to say he won't make mistakes. You've got Ilya Sorokin, who didn't have a great year last year. Now, Varlamov is hurt. I don't know if he's going to play at all. David Riddick will come in and be the backup goalie. What the Islanders have to have, though, which they didn't last year, if they didn't have the worst overall special teams in the NHL, they were right near the bottom. They got to be, close to league average in terms of being, penalty kill and peak and power play. The penalty kill was horrendous. I mean, it was like there was a time well into the season where it was under 70%. So the Islanders have to be at least credible on special teams. And if they are, I think the Islanders could push for a playoff spot. I really do. I think I like that team more than most people. Fourth choice for me, the Washington Capitals. Let's be honest. Last year was wild. Think about this. First of all, 111 points, win the division, 51 wins. But Strome, career high in goals, points, shooting percentage. Protas, career high in goals, points, shooting percentage. Wilson, first ever 30-goal season. He had 33. He had never even had a 25-goal season prior to last year. Connor McMichael, career high in goals, points, shooting percentage. Jacob Chikrin, career high in goals, points, shooting percentage. Logan Thompson, who had a great start, got this big contract last 15 starts. 877 save. This is regular season. 877 save percentage. 11 out of those 15 starts, he allowed at least 3 goals. I don't know if they've got great goaltending. I like Carolina's goaltending way more than I like Washington's goaltending. Everything clicked, including chasing down the all-time goal-scoring record last year for Alexander Ovechkin. Everything clicked. Ovi had 44 goals. He's 100 years old. Is he going to have 44 goals again? He actually could. Because Ovechkin is so elite at that skill, but he'll have 44 goals and he'll be a drag on his team because he really can't play anymore. We saw it in the playoffs. If you remember the series, the least impactful player for Washington in the series was Alexander Ovechkin. So I've got them as the fourth choice. I love Spencer Carberry, though. I think he's going to be an absolute star as a coach. After that, Philadelphia intrigues me mostly because it's Rick Tocchet as the head coach there, and I think they will eventually figure it out under Tocchet. Although Tocchet doesn't have a long history of great playoff, great regular seasons. They get Trevor Zegras, Dan Vladar. Dan Vladar comes in, probably to back up Sam Ersson. But they also have bad special teams. They were at 15% on the power play. The league average is like 21%. You got to at least be league average on the power play. And like some of their players who I like just had kind of mediocre seasons, but that's what Philadelphia is at this point, kind of mediocre. And then Pittsburgh, who is the only team right now in the NHL who is actively trying to not win. And what's likely going to happen to the Penguins or with the Penguins over the course of the first 3 months of the season, 4 months of the season, is that I wouldn't be surprised if, other than Crosby, and I don't know, to a lesser extent, Letang, Malkin, I wouldn't be surprised if they just started shedding players. I mean, that's where everybody's going to try to go shopping, right? During the for whatever you want to add during the season. I know Malkin, who's in the last year of his deal, says he wants to fit. He doesn't want to go anywhere. Wants to finish his career with Pittsburgh. Like, based on what I've seen from Evgeny Malkin the last couple of years, I'm not so sure that there's going to be a ton of teams knocking on the door trying to get him. But, I mean, he's still Evgeny Malkin. And at one point, and he's probably still going to the Hall of Fame, He's got that kind of ability, or had that kind of ability. Can he conjure it up for one more year? Maybe make a run at a cup with another team? Maybe Carolina? No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so that's the way I look at it. So Rangers first choice, Columbus second choice, Islanders third choice, Washington fourth. Then the Flyers and Pittsburgh, to me, almost the same. But Carolina and New Jersey obviously are your two teams in the Metro. There you go. Look at that. We talked. Tomorrow when we get together, we will try to, as best we can, look ahead to Monday night and what we can expect from the lineup. I know I fully expect the Bradley Nadeaus of the world, the Justin Robidas of the world, the Charles Alexis Legos of the world to be in the lineup on Monday. I think that Carolina's intriguing prospects, I think they'll get 4 preseason games. And we've already seen teams trimming their training camp rosters. And I believe there was a game today. It was Buffalo and somebody. But when we start Monday, I think we'll see some of the young guys, the guys that you want to see, guys we all want to see. But and I don't think on Monday we're going to see too many vets. But Tyson Jost will play, right? But we'll preview the game, Monday's game tomorrow night. All right, this has been the Canes Corner podcast. I am Adam Gold, brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. AluminumCompany.com. Sammy Hannah's crew do a great job. See all these James Hardy commercials on TV. That's the place to get James Hardy siding, is the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. They just gave away a bunch, I believe, at their fall open house. Anyway, we'll see everybody tomorrow on the Canes Corner podcast. Thank you very much for hanging out. I am Adam Gold, and we will talk to you Sunday night.